Hare Krishna, will start with the invocation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. Quick announcements that His Grace Chaitanya Chandas is in Toronto this week, and he knows that we listen to his class recording extracts, and he is very much pleased. Many devotees from past have met him in person and explained how his classes have been helping him. So all of you can also again try to meet with him collectively. So you can connect with Shalini Gopal Krishna. She is coordinating that. Those of you who are in Toronto and around area can physically go to meet His Grace Chaitanya Chandas. And you can consider to give him some Lakshmi as reciprocation, but again, that's up to you whether you want to do it. But if it will be good that if you all go together to meet him and explain as what has been helpful to you all. You can try to explain some of the analogies or acronyms that has stuck on you. Everybody, is that doable for you? Those of you who are in Toronto and around area?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
All right, thank you. Second announcement or a point that last class, a couple of classes back, we discussed about the importance of regular hearing. Say when you are traveling to India or your home country and or your family is visiting. So live practical example of a devotee from this batch traveled to India just in last couple of weeks and was not listening to class recordings. And now the devotee says that it's a challenge to listen to Bhagavad Gita class recordings. Why? Because of not being diligent, then the material taste props up. And further, now this devotee was thinking of dropping off from this batch and to join the next Bhagavad Gita batch. So understand that this is your contaminated mind talking. We have discussed Anukulyasya Sankalpa, that whatever is favorable for bhakti, I will accept. And Pratikulyasya Varjitam, that whatever is taking me away from bhakti, I will reject. So this devotee also did the right thing of connecting with me and inquiring as to what is the right approach and will follow. So the correct approach is to be diligent in listening to class recordings while you are traveling or when family visits or when you have some big function. And for whatever reason, if you are unable to attend the live virtual classes, then listen to class recordings as soon as possible. When you listen to class recordings, you should send me at least one tracking point and at least one inquiry from each of the class recordings. So this will become a forceful diligence for you. And if you have missed few class recordings to listen to, so the proper approach is to continue attending or listening to ongoing classes and little by little try to catch up on past missed classes. If you think that you will first try to catch up on all past missed class recordings and then you will join back, well, that will never happen. That's an incorrect approach. What you have to do is you have to continue ongoing classes and simultaneously try to get caught up on the previous missed classes. So there is at least one more devotee from this batch who has this incorrect approach of first wanting to listen past recordings in the sequence, and then you will never be caught up that way. You have to understand Maya is very, very strong. So I just got a message from yet another devotee today itself that the devotee are traveling, that they will listen to class recordings. So that's a perfect approach, pre-planned approach that, okay, I'm going to travel, but let me ensure that I get the class recordings and listen, as well as send at least one tracking point and one inquiry to Ramvilas. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments? All right. I have on screen an opportunity for you all that at batch 3 and 4, Bhagavad Gita revision is starting from June 1st. We'll be revising 2 chapters every day from June 1st. So this is Toronto time, 7 a.m. on Sundays. India time will be 4:30 p.m. and Nepal time 4:45 p.m. So Sanjaya has taught us in Bhagavad Gita 18.76 and 77 with the words again and again, that Sanjaya also remembered Bhagavad Gita instructions again and again to relish more and more of Bhagavad Gita and to remember Krishna more and more. Plus in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.27, Arjuna has also taught us the exact same point, that when Arjuna was in distress because Krishna went back to Goloka Vrindavan, therefore Arjuna simply remembered Bhagavad Gita instructions and Arjuna got pacified by association of Krishna through Krishna's words, because Krishna is absolute. Krishna and Krishna's words are identical. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.27 purport, it explains that Bhagavad Gita is sound representation of Krishna. And one gets the same benefit from reading and remembering Bhagavad Gita, just as Arjuna got from the personal presence of the Lord. So take a snapshot and consider to join these revision classes. You will realize that devotees from previous batches, they will revise and explain the essence of each chapter in about 10 minutes. So it's a very good overview and an opportunity to remember Bhagavad Gita through these overview sessions. I mean, you all will also be doing these same presentations when we reach chapter 18. So it's a learning opportunity right now. Later on, I will explain and I can give you these recordings also when you will be ready for presentation, but it's a live opportunity for you all to join these revision classes as an additional class. I know so far Ritu has mentioned that she will join, but if you are interested, you can just mention to me and I will send you the link. All right, message to me offline. Those who want to join, I cannot keep up on the messages in the text here while I'm doing this class. All right, so today we will continue from Bhagavad Gita 7.24, wherein we will discuss the terms Brahmavad, Sunyavad, Advaitavad, which is same as Nivishesavad, and Mayavad. We'll discuss these four terms. And we will discuss how does Krishna know the future? What does future mean? Plus, at the end of the class today, you all will get a very important mandatory spiritual endeavor. You all will have fun with these seemingly innocuous, open-ended question. So today's class is going to be very heavy class. We'll only cover these three verses today and finish chapter 7 today. The last few verses of chapter 7 we will discuss at our next class with chapter 8, because Krishna introduces new terms which Arjuna will inquire and they get answered in chapter 8. Therefore, those last four verses of chapter 7 we will discuss together with chapter 8 at our next class. So stay tuned. Today's very, very heavy class. So we were discussing that Krishna is talking about those who surrender to Krishna. They start rendering devotional services to Krishna. And then from verse 20 onwards, Krishna describes another category, that those who surrender to something other than Krishna, meaning those who surrender to demigods. So we discussed in verses 20 to 23 that those who surrender to demigods. In 7.24, Krishna describes another category, that someone may start worshipping the impersonal conception, meaning somebody may start worshipping the Brahman effulgence. Chandar, if you can read 7.24 translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme.
Very good. So the verse talks about Brahman effulgence. And I will explain more than what is there in the verse and the purports for context and relevance. So those who follow Brahman effulgence or the Gyan Yoga path, they are known as Brahmavadi also. And to understand Brahmavad, I will also explain Brahmavad, Sunyavad, Advaitavad, which is same as Nivishesavad, and Mayavad. Because we hear all these terms, and to understand the meaning and the context properly. Therefore, I am explaining all these terms in one place. So, Brahman effulgence or Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and Bhagwan realization are progressively increasing realizations of the same absolute truth. So understand this with an example. Say when you go to the temple, Sunday feast, they generally have some sweet. Say halwa is cooking. So you have a fragrance of halwa coming. So you experience halwa at one level, at the fragrance level. Means you know that, okay, it's in existence. That's all you know, that halwa is in existence. Then when you go to take prasadam, you are standing in queue, you see halwa. Therefore, you are experiencing halwa at another level, at the level of sight. And when you actually honor the halwa, then you experience halwa fully by taste. So at such level of realization, meaning the Brahman effulgent realization is that absolute truth exists. I don't know anything more. Just as when you have the fragrance of the halwa, is like Brahman effulgence, that, okay, absolute truth or some spiritual reality exists. When we conceive absolute truth as having material potencies, as having the capacity to control the material world, that is Paramatma realization. So this is like you seeing the halwa. So this is second higher step of spiritual realization, which is Paramatma realization. And when one gets the highest realization of Bhagwan realization, one understands that absolute truth has material and spiritual potencies. There are various energies, and Krishna performs beautiful pastimes with his devotees in the spiritual world. Everybody with me so far? All right. Now, Brahmavadis. Now, Vad means philosophy. Vivad means argument. Apavad means exception. And Samvad means agreeable questioning, to understand. You are not questioning to disagree. You are questioning to understand what you are explaining. So Bhagavad Gita is a samvad where Arjuna is asking questions to understand. So I said Vad means philosophy, that whosoever is following a particular philosophy, so just as Brahmavad, they are following the Brahman effulgence philosophy, therefore they are known as Brahmavadi, that they are following the Brahman philosophy. So Brahmavadis are those who have experienced the Sat aspect of the absolute truth, meaning the Brahman effulgence. Now, Brahmavadis are very renounced and very detached. They have turned away from material world. Therefore, this in itself is glorious. So either the Brahmavadis are not aware of the Bhagwan aspect, Because they just don't have knowledge. Because they lack devotee association, therefore they think that Brahman effulgence is all it is. Brahman effulgence is the highest. That is their thought process. It is by the association of devotees that bhakti arises. So because Brahmavadis are not fortunate enough to associate with devotees, hence they are attracted to the impersonal conception, which is Brahmavad. Now, Brahmavad and Brahman effulgence are bona fide aspects of the absolute truth. Brahmavad is a bona fide spiritual realization. And this Brahman realization is a valid aspect of absolute truth. The difference between Brahmavad and Mayavadi is that essentially Brahmavadi are attracted to Brahman effulgence as the absolute truth, while Mayavadis consider Bhagwan also to be illusion. I'll soon discuss Mayavad very soon. So Brahmavadis are not offensive to the Lord because they do not consider the form of the Lord to be the product of matter, just as Mayavadis consider the form of the Lord to be matter also. Brahmavadis do not think that the Lord's form has to be transcended to go beyond the form of the Lord to merge with the effulgence. No, that is Mayavad's misconceptions. Therefore, Mayavadis are offensive and condemned by the Lord. Brahmavadis only know little bit information about spirituality that they know about Brahman effulgence, and that's it. They just don't know about Bhagwan realization or the Bhagwan concept, and therefore Brahmavadis are attracted to the Brahman effulgence only because they lack devotee association. Everybody with me so far? All right. Srivastava Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I ask?
Yeah.
I had a question about Buddha Dharma.
Okay, so
And,
hold your thought. That's a completely offline topic. I don't want you to get there because we already have a lot of heavy discussion. I want you to park your question.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay, ask a question that is relevant to what we are discussing. Monarch, Mansi?
No, I
Hare
was going to link it to Brahmavad.
Yeah, your question is going to go off track. So,
Okay.
Srivastava, you please park your question.
Okay.
Monarch Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, my question is related to that line that Brahmavadi know that supreme is exist. So do they know that Krishna is the supreme or
They don't know. Brahmavadis don't know.
okay,
Brahmavadis only know, okay, there is some higher spiritual existence and they think Brahman effulgence is the highest. They just don't know beyond anything. They don't know that the absolute truth is a person and that person is Bhagwan, Krishna. They don't know that.
okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Chandar?
Prabhuji, my question is, when we we believe that Krishna is in us and we are part and parcel of Krishna, then how can Brahmavadi be different from Krishna?
So you know that you are part and parcel of Krishna because you know Krishna as the person and you know scriptural knowledge that Bhagavad Gita 15.7 says we are part and parcel of Krishna. But Brahmavadis, they don't know devotee at all. And because of lack of devotee association, they don't know this scriptural knowledge. That Krishna is a person, that we are part and parcel of Krishna. They don't know this part. They know some portion about spirituality, not everything. Chandar?
So, I am getting little confusion here about the spirit, which is coming from Supreme Lord, like Paramatma. And we have the Atma, and same Brahmavadi has it, right?
You are correct, but you understand that not everybody knows that they are spirit soul. Right? If you go and ask your colleagues, they say, soul, I am soul? What do you mean? Right? Not everybody knows. Even though it's a fact that there is a soul.
But I'm assuming like this Brahmavadi have gone to spirituality more than
Brahmavadis have
regular
gone
people.
to spirituality
So
more than
they
materialistic.
probably have the jnana.
Okay, so Brahmavadis have gone to spirituality more than materialist, but their knowledge is only up to a certain point, not what devotees know. Chandar?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now, next is Sunyavad. Sunyavad means, Shunya means void or zero, and those who follow the Sunyavad philosophy, they are Shunyavadi. So Shunyavadis think that ultimately absolute truth is void. Shunyavad have the conception that we have to give up all desires. Hence, in that sense, we have to create a shunya or create a vacuum in our consciousness. So their focus is that desire is the cause of suffering. Therefore, give up the desires and you will become free from suffering. Meaning, when we drain our consciousness out of all desires, then what remains is void, is shunya. Now, Shunyavad means empty our consciousness of all substance. And they do not have the conception of soul as the source of consciousness. Therefore, when you empty the consciousness, then what remains is nothing. Therefore, is Shunya. So this Shunyavad is philosophy of nothingness. This Shunyavad is not a Vedic concept. Everybody with me? Srivastava Prabhu.
So, Shunyavad is not practiced even by, because when I think about Shunyavad, certain tantric and Shaivite practices come to mind. Does that not fall under Vedanta?
It does, yeah, you are correct that some who practice Shunyavad or some Buddhists also practice, but Shunyavad is not a Vedic philosophy. It is just somebody's assumption.
I see.
It is
Thank
not
you, Prabhu.
possible to empty your consciousness. Can any one of you try to empty your consciousness?
No.
Right? So it is, Shunyavad is not a Vedic concept. Chandar?
Sorry, Prabhuji, I want to know when we say we have to purify ourselves, and is that purification not like bringing ourselves to void?
So purification is not void. Purification means you are reviving your original Swarupa as eternal servant of eternal Master Krishna. Yeah, Srivastava Prabhu is correct. Purification is transformation. Purification is not void. After purification, it's not that you are sitting idle and doing nothing. No, look at pure devotees. Look at these sannyasis who are pure devotees. they are actively engaged in devotional service. Why? Because now they are purified. Purification does not mean you are sitting idle somewhere. Chandar?
So, like, isn't that cleaning your consciousness? My question is that.
Yeah, cleaning your consciousness means you are removing the dirt so that you are reviving your original swarupa. Right now, my consciousness is covered with dirt, and because of which I am thinking of material world and everything around me as I, me, mine, and thinking this is for my enjoyment. This is contaminated consciousness, that I think I am the Lord of all I survey. When you purify your consciousness, you realize that material world is an energy of Krishna and is meant to be used in Krishna's service. And I am also an energy of Krishna, and I am also supposed to use my abilities in Krishna's service. That is purified consciousness. Sunyavad, what they are saying is, no, consciousness, all these desires are cause of my suffering, so I will empty my consciousness, means leave nothing inside me. Means, how is that possible? That is not even possible to begin with. Therefore, Shunyavad is not a Vedic concept.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
All right.
Got it.
All right. Now, the third topic of Advaitavad, I'm pretty sure many of you will get confused between Advaitavad, Nirvisheshavad, or whatever I'm about to explain. So understand Advaitavad and ask questions. So Dvaita means two-ness. And when you add the word A, it becomes Advaitavad. So Advaita means no two-ness, meaning non-dualism. So Advaitavadis, they accept that duality is there in our present reality, but in conclusion, we go from duality to non-duality. This is the philosophy of the Advaitavad. Advaitavad has been refuted by Vaishnavas as well as certain other personalities also. Now, Advaitavad has two branches. We won't get into details, otherwise it will get too complex. So the two branches of Advaitavad are Pratibimbavad and Mayavad. We'll only discuss Mayavad. Advaitavad is a misunderstanding of Vedanta teachings. The Advaitavadi's idea is that absolute truth does not have personality, does not have any activity, does not have any quality, does not have relationships. So this is the misunderstandings that they have about the absolute truth. Absolute truth is simply a non-differentiated oneness is what the Advaitavadis think, which is of course a misunderstanding on their part. Meaning what the Advaitavadis are saying, that absolute truth does not have Vishesha. So Vishesha means qualities, and this is where the term Nirvisheshavad comes, which is just another term to address Advaitavad. So Vishesha in the Nirvishesha means the qualities. Nirvisheshavad is a term that Vaishnava Acharyas have used to describe the absence of Vishesha in the Advaitavad philosophy. So Advaitavad and Nirvisheshavad are one and the same, just two different terms to describe the same point, that Advaitavad or Nirvisheshavad, they consider that the absolute truth does not have personality, does not have activity, does not have qualities, does not have relationship, which is their misunderstanding. So Advaitavad think that absolute truth does not have Vishesha, means does not have any qualities, and therefore the Vaishnava Acharyas have given them the name as Nirvishesavad, that your philosophy is Nirvishesha, means it's missing the Vishesha, it's missing the quality component. Vishesha means what is the relationship between object and its qualities. Example, fire's quality is to burn. And Srila Prabhupada explains this as the dharma, that burning is the dharma of fire. Something that makes that thing. Meaning it is the burning capacity that makes the fire as fire. So we cannot have the conception of fire without its burning properties. And at the same time, fire and burning are two different things. So if they were entirely one thing, then we can just say either fire or burn. No, but they are two different things in quality. So burning is the Vishesha of fire. Burning is the quality of fire. So quality in one sense is one and in another sense is different. So from the perspective of Vaishnavas, that Brahman has Vishesha. But Advaitavadis think that absolute truth or Brahman or spirituality does not have any Vishesha, does not have any qualities. Therefore, Vaishnava Acharyas gave the name of Nirvisheshavad to Advaitavad. Essentially, Advaitavad and Nirvisheshavad are same, and Mayavad is a subdivision of Advaitavad or Nirvisheshavad, and we'll discuss Mayavad soon. I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations. Shivatsa.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. So is Swadharma similar to what you mentioned with regard to, would it be fair to say that the Swadharma of fire is its innate capacity to burn, which can be observed by
So you
external parties?
Yeah, you need to first understand that you have mentioned Swadharma multiple times.
Mhm.
You should have an offline chat with me. Your understanding of Swadharma is incorrect.
Okay.
So you have to stop using the word Swadharma. So Swadharma, you can also refer to Varnashram Dharma. Well, that Varnashram Dharma is material versus the eternal Dharma of fire is burning, of soul is service, of water is liquidity. So with the use of the word Swadharma, you potentially are getting mixed up in the Varnashram and the actual eternal Swarupa of the soul.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is that the individual soul, the living entity, does it also similarly, each one of us have a unique quality that...
Absolutely correct. This is described in Shishopanishad that there are infinite souls and each soul has a unique one-on-one link in terms of relationship, in terms of service relationship with Krishna. So each soul is unique. There will be some having similar abilities, but essentially the infinite souls all are unique in terms of their abilities, and each one of them have that one-on-one link with Krishna. Srivatsa Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. One last thing. So, is it safe to say that when you uncover that ability, you have essentially uncovered a part of your eternal self,
Not
or some
part.
sort of realization?
Yeah, not just part. When you realize your original Swarupa, means you have purified yourself and
Mhm.
you are back in your original Swarupa.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Monarch Mansi.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I could not get the difference between Sunyavad and Nirvishesavad.
So Sunyavad, they're saying that we just have to empty the consciousness. While Advaitavad or Nirvishesavad, what they are saying is, or what their philosophy is saying is, that the absolute truth does not have qualities, does not have personality. Sunyavad is trying to empty our own consciousness, while Advaitavad and Nirvishesavad are saying that the absolute truth, meaning Krishna, spirituality, there is no duality, there is no two-ness. Everything is just one lump. There's no qualities. So what they are saying is fire and the burning as a separate quality of the fire. No, they're saying essentially is one. Well, that's not true. Fire and the burning quality, they are different in one sense, but they are also linked, that the fire and the quality are linked.
Yes, Prabhu, got it. Thank you. Prabhu, one more question further to it. That does it mean that Nirvisheshvadi believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
So they do have understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's what will get clarified in the next discussion about Mayavad. That Mayavadi also have an incorrect understanding of the Supreme Lord as to who is Supreme. Mayavad think Brahman effulgence is highest, Krishna is not highest. Mayavadis think that Krishna's Shyam Sundar form is a material form. I'll soon discuss in a minute.
Okay, got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Rest of you, questions, comments, realizations? All right. Mayavad. So Mayavadis are aware of the Bhagwan aspect also, but they consider Bhagwan aspect to be also Maya, to be also under illusion. When Brahman effulgence is made the highest aspect of absolute truth, meaning Brahman effulgence is made as the absolute truth, that is wrong. What Brahmavadis, so as I'm describing, I will do this comparison between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi to understand in crystal clear. So Brahmavadis also think Brahman effulgence is the highest. And Mayavadis also think Brahman effulgence is the highest. The difference is Brahmavadis don't know anything beyond Brahman effulgence. They don't know Bhagwan aspect at all. Therefore, they just think Brahman effulgence is the highest. While Mayavadis, on the other hand, they actually know the Bhagwan aspect also. But they consider Brahman effulgence as the highest, and they consider that Bhagwan is also under Maya. Krishna's Shyam Sundar form is also part of illusion. And this points makes Mayavadis as offensive. Brahmavadis are not offensive because they only know so much information. To think Brahman effulgence as the absolute truth, this is Brahmavad. But to think Brahman effulgence as the only absolute truth and simultaneously consider Bhagwan as Maya, this is serious misunderstanding, and this is Mayavad philosophy, and this serious misunderstanding makes Mayavadis as offensive. Difference between Brahmavad and Mayavad is that essentially Brahmavadis are attracted to Brahman effulgence as the absolute truth because they don't know anything beyond, they don't have devotee association. While Mayavadis, they know Bhagwan, but they consider Bhagwan also to be illusion. Now, how is Mayavad offensive? So I already explained that Vad means philosophy or an argument, and Maya means illusion. So Mayavad means everything we see around us is primarily illusion, and beyond what we see is Brahman effulgence. And Mayavadis think that because we cannot think of the impersonal, formless Brahman effulgence right now, therefore to meditate on a form, you can use Krishna's form as a temporary meditational tool, and then you can go beyond this Krishna's form to the formless Brahman effulgence. This makes it offensive that somebody is trying to go beyond the form of Krishna. This is very offensive. That's why Mayavadis are offensive. So Mayavadis think that the manifestation of Brahman effulgence with form is a transitional tool for meditation, because we are living where we are seeing the forms like the human forms we all have and everything around us as a form. But Brahman effulgence does not have a form. So it is difficult to meditate on the formless Brahman effulgence. Therefore, as an intermediate, Mayavadis preach that you use Krishna's form as a transitional meditational tool and then go beyond Krishna to the Brahman effulgence, to the formless Brahman effulgence. Because Mayavadis consider that this Krishna's form has to be transcended, because Krishna's form is also Maya, is also illusion. These points make Mayavadis as offensive. Now, large part of all scriptures talk about form, person, reciprocation, pastimes of the Lord. But according to Mayavadi concept, more than 98% or more than 99% of the scriptures which explain all these points about form, person, reciprocation, pastimes, all these points from scriptures get degraded down to lower level of reality, and only a small portion of scripture which explains Brahman effulgence, they consider that as reality. This is incorrect. This is violence against scriptures. This is clearly Mayavadis imposing their own philosophy on scriptures. And this is very offensive, because one is taking his own philosophy and imposing it on scriptures. Plus, one is also denying the transcendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Mayavadis do not deny the existence of Vishnu, but they say that Vishnu is also under illusion. So when we truly go beyond this illusion, meaning they call Vishnu as illusion also, then we will go beyond this form and we will merge into Brahman effulgence. In Bhagavad Gita 14.27, Krishna has clearly said that there is no truth higher than me. Now, this statement is not just in 14.27. It's there in many places in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures. that Krishna says there is no truth higher than me. And in 14.27, Krishna also says that Brahman effulgence is supported by me. Krishna is saying this. But Mayavadis directly contradict Krishna's statements and try to impose their own philosophy on the scriptures. So why are Mayavadis offensive? That by denying the form of the Lord as transcendental, by considering the form of the Lord as a transitional tool, by ignoring a major part of scriptures to a lower level of reality, by degrading the path of bhakti yoga of worship of the Supreme Lord as that to be for less intelligent, by denying the authenticity of scriptures that describe the glory of the Lord. By all these, the Mayavadis offend the Lord. Especially, they're saying that the form of the Lord is also material, and we have to go beyond the form of Krishna to a transcendental level. This is offensive. So, considering the form of Vishnu as material means Vishnu is not topmost reality. And they say that Vishnu is just a convenient tool for meditation, transitional tool for meditation. And then you need to go beyond. This is offensive. Minimization of bhakti and just considering that the manifestation of the transcendental form as a transitional tool, this is offensive. And we'll discuss few more points about Mayavadis later on. Right now, I will pause. I'm pretty sure I have had a heavy conversation. So one question posted in the chat is that, do Mayavadis know that they are Mayavadis? So they do not know their philosophy. They think their philosophy is the highest. They think Brahman effulgence is the highest. They don't know beyond this. And it is because of their misunderstanding. Now, do understand that even in ISKCON, you will find Mayavadis. In one of our previous batches, there was actually one devotee in our classes who was influenced by Mayavad. So there will be actually Mayavadis, and then there will be somebody influenced by Mayavad. So this devotee coming in our class was influenced by Mayavad. So I had to maintain a distance between this devotee and rest of the devotees to ensure that the contamination of Mayavad does not spread. Well, later on, by itself, the devotee stopped coming for whatever reason. That was a different story. I can let the devotee continue in class to give the association of devotees to this devotee who had Mayavad influence with ensuring that the Mayavad doesn't spread to rest of the devotees. So you will notice that in ISKCON, these Mayavadis are very knowledgeable. They know scriptures inside out, but their conception is has a misunderstanding that they think Brahman effulgence is the highest. So when you start talking to some people, some devotees who may be talking a lot of scriptural points, but when you understand that they are talking about Mayavad concept, then you don't indulge in philosophical discussion. You just say, Prabhu, Mataji, I am not so advanced. I cannot discuss philosophy with you. You just stop the conversation and let them deal with some senior devotee. So Mnima had a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, although you slightly answered, who exactly are Mayavad? Like, are they community, religious group, or the nature of the person, or what exactly is it?
They can be even in orange dress. So it's the conception that you have to use to judge whether somebody is Mayavadi or not. They can be regular devotees in regular devotee clothes. They may be coming every day. The conception is what determines whether somebody is Mayavad or not. Somebody having the conception that Krishna is not supreme, Krishna is just a transitional tool so that we can go to Brahman effulgence, that is a Mayavad concept.
How can a devotee be a Mayavad? Like, they do not consider Krishna as the highest. So those kind of.
So somebody will have influence. So understand that we started spirituality at some point of time, and before we had some concepts. Somebody told us something and we believed without knowing whatever we are hearing is right or wrong, and without knowing more details. We just took it for granted, whatever we were hearing as right, or even demigod worship also. We assumed demigod worship was the highest. Well, that's not. So based on historical and family, we may have some concepts thrown at us. But as we progress on the path of spirituality, little by little, we realize that how our conceptions need to change. Sumrima?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Rest of you, questions, comments, realizations?
I have a question. So, Mayavad, where do they get the knowledge? Which scriptures they are reading? I mean,
They read a lot of scriptures. They also read Bhagavad Gita as well as Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are actually some Bhagavad Gita printed also, which have altered Bhagavad Gita. So they will alter the Bhagavad Gita to what they want to preach rather than what Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita as. Atan Prabhu?
okay, thank you.
All right. Manish, can you please read 7.25 translation?
Hare Krishna. I am never manifest to the foolish and intelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and inexhaustible.
So why Krishna is not manifested to everyone? Because Krishna reserves the right to reveal himself or conceal himself, depending on his own sweet free will. In material world, different people have different rights. Similarly, Krishna also has his own rights. Sometimes people say, if God is so powerful, let him come in front of me to prove. No, we are not order givers to God. We are supposed to be order carriers of God. So Krishna reciprocates according to our desires. So one can say, I want to see God, so he should be reciprocating according to my desires, and Krishna should come in front of me. So Krishna does not reciprocate just with our spoken desires. Rather, Krishna reciprocates with our overall mentality. Krishna sees our attitude, and if our attitude is not of dependence on him, not of service, not of compliance of his instructions, then Krishna will not manifest. Now, worldly Maya, which is Mahamaya, makes us forget Krishna and puts us under sense gratification, puts us in material consciousness where we disconnect with Krishna. Now, the other side of Mahamaya is Yogmaya. Yogmaya is spiritual. Yogmaya makes us forget Krishna also, not that we go into material illusion. Rather, Yogmaya makes us forget Krishna's supreme position, and this makes the connection with Krishna more deep. Yogmaya makes us forget Krishna's supreme position to enhance devotion. Just as Mother Yashoda was made to forget that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore Mother Yashoda is able to pick up a stick and try to beat up Krishna. If Mother Yashoda knew that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mother Yashoda will never pick up a stick. Simultaneously, for Krishna to relish that rasa of Vatsalya rasa, Yogmaya makes Krishna forget Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotee, in the example Yogmaya, forgets Yashoda Mother to forget that Krishna is Supreme. Therefore, that rasa is exchanged in a natural way and is more relishable. And Krishna can always regain his supremacy whenever he requires. But for the exchange of rasa, Yogmaya makes us forget that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Mahamaya makes the soul forget Krishna and puts us under sense gratification, by which devotion is cut down. Questions, comments, realizations? So our rest of the class is super heavy. If you thought so, the class so far was heavy, well, the rest of the class is super heavy, where we will talk about future. So section 3 of chapter 7 is verses 26 to 30. How the soul gets liberation by knowledge about Krishna. We'll cover verse 26 today and finish chapter 7. Rest of the verses 27 to 30, Krishna introduces new topics and which Arjuna will inquire at the start of chapter 8 and Krishna will answer in chapter 8. So we'll all discuss that in our next class, because today's rest of the class will take up this verse number 26, translation discussion and the future point discussion. Mansi, 26 translation.
Hare Krishna. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows.
Have undivided attention. I'm going to use Janisha as an example, that Janisha is physically in Nepal. So many of devotees are from Nepal, and Janisha has also traveled to India. So many of the devotees are from India. Therefore, Janisha is a perfect example. And Janisha has also traveled to Maldives. And from those who responded, none of us have traveled to Maldives. So I'm going to first lay out a series of questions, and I will pause and you potentially will have questions on the questions itself. So many of us, including Janisha, are either from Nepal or India. So we all know how Nepal is laid out, how India is laid out. Janisha also knows. Now, Janisha has been also to Maldives. Therefore, Janisha knows how Maldives is laid out, how the streets are. Now, I have not been to Maldives. Therefore, I do not know Maldives at all. Meaning, Maldives already exists, but I have not been to Maldives. Therefore, I do not know Maldives. So here are my series of questions. Is future something like this, where future is already existing, but because I have not gone to the future, therefore I do not know the future, while Krishna has gone to the future, therefore Krishna knows the future? Now my next question is future like a pre-existing territory in which we enter, just as Maldives in our example? Next question is, if Krishna knows the future, what is the purpose of our free will? Or is our free will really free? My next question is, if God knows the future, isn't our destiny fixed? Aren't things happening in a fixed manner? My last question, and I will pause for you all to question on the questions. My last question is, where does soul's independence fit in? I will pause here. Are these all relevant questions?
Yes, Prabhuji.
I got silence from rest of you except Malti. Okay, there's some in the chat also. So now you understand why I was looking for a unique place, why we chose Janisha. Janisha became the perfect example. Everybody understands the questions? Is future like a pre-existing territory in which we enter, like Maldives in our example? Srivatsa?
We're supposed to answer, right, Prabhu?
You can. So far, I am only on the question part.
Okay.
Answer is coming up. I'm not expecting you to have the answer, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can take a swing at it. I think we established pretty early, right, that the individual soul has free will, and we can create consciously. The key word is conscious. Consciously create your own future with the Lord, of course. So, yeah, assuming that we are here for liberation. So I think the precursor to everything becomes the recognition that.
Yeah, you are saying some points, but doesn't seem relevant to what I am asking.
Oh, it is relevant, Prabhu. It is bang on relevant.
So you are
I
saying
don't
free
know.
will, but
You
I
have
already...
shut me down quite a few times, but I don't understand why.
I'm not trying to stick you down. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate. What I'm saying is, my question was, if God already knows the future, what's the point of our free will?
Well, we should ask God then. Why are we
Yeah,
philosophizing that?
Yeah, that's the purpose
It's
of our
already been established.
Yeah, so that's the purpose of our discussion, that how do you understand free will if God already knows the future? That's the purpose of our discussion here.
Well, but if that God has already given us free will, it is up to us to exercise it.
You are correct. So that's a correct point. Okay, so let me answer. Let me answer all these questions. So Krishna's knowledge of the future is like our knowledge of the past. Our knowledge of the past is knowledge without intervention, without any capacity to change it. In God's case, it is not that he does not have the capability to change the future, but he chooses not to exercise that capability. God can do, which is practically impossible. God can make a square a circle. So square and circle are opposite. So one can turn this question around. Question being, does Krishna know the future? You can turn this question around to, can Krishna change the past? Example, India got independence on 15th August 1947. Can Krishna change it to 16th August 1947? No. Now, this is not a limitation of Krishna, but it is a limitation of the system that he has created, and he honors that system. Similarly, about Krishna knowing the future, he knows which cause will lead to which result based on our past tendencies. Krishna knows what we are inclined to do. So question is that if everything is already destined, so what is the use of my endeavoring? And is my free will really free? The answer is, we do have free will, and Krishna will reciprocate with our intentions, depending on how we use our free will, exactly what Shivasa Prabhu was saying a few minutes ago. So it is not that future is completely preordained and that Krishna knows it. It's not a pre-existing territory. Rather, it is that he knows that choices have consequences. He knows which choices have which consequences. So Krishna says this to Arjuna in 18.63, do as you wish. I have explained the whole philosophy to you. So if Arjuna had no free will, then there was no need for Bhagavad Gita. So if we were with no free will, then all scriptures will become useless. Scriptures tell us to do certain things and to not do certain things. But if it is already decided what I am going to do, then scriptures become pointless. So scriptures are not pointless. God has given scriptures to guide us so that we can use our free will properly. Therefore, Krishna's knowledge of the future is knowledge without intervention. He has given us free will, and he knows which free will lead to which consequences. But Krishna does not control our free will. Meaning, there is knowledge, but at the same time, there is no control. Meaning, Krishna does not control our free will. Future is not a pre-existing territory in which we enter. Just as in the example we gave, that Maldives as the example, Maldives exists, but I have not gone, therefore I don't know Maldives. And future is not like the Maldives in our example, and we will know the future when we enter Maldives or when we enter future. No, future is not pre-existing like Maldives in our example. Future is an ever emergent reality. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 9.6 that assume sky to be a bowl and wind is moving in all directions. But wind is limited within the scope of the sky. Similarly, our choices are limited. Within the scope of the sky, the wind has choice to move in whichever direction the wind wants to move. Our capacity to choose is not determined by Krishna. But the spectrum of choices that we get are limited based on certain factors such as our inclinations, such as our past karma. And each of these choices are associated with consequences. But as far as choices are concerned, we do have free will. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to encourage us to use our free will properly. Scriptures say God knows everything. But you cannot use this one statement in isolation because the same scriptures also say we have free will. Hence, we have to reconcile the different statements of scriptures. Reconciliation is that future is not a pre-existing reality. Future is an ever-emergent reality. And in that future, what God knows is all the correlation between all the choices and all the consequences. Plus, God also knows our inclinations. Therefore, Krishna knows what will be our default action, and therefore he knows the outcome. This is how he knows the future. But simultaneously, he has given us free will to choose. It is not necessary for us to act according to our default inclination. From the point of view of scriptures, we do have free will. From the point of view of logic, and if you try to reconcile God's knowledge of future with our free will, we will run into a dead end. Because our logic is also having limited capacity. Now, if God has programmed everyone to act in a particular way, then that would mean that God is responsible for everyone's suffering. So God as a doer of everything is in the sense that God is sanctioner of everything. But God is not the impeller of anything. It is the soul's desire that is the starting point. If someone wants to do something and that person has karmic credit to do that particular thing, then God allows him to do that thing even if it is incorrect or immoral activity or even terrorist activity. But before sanctioning those incorrect activities, God also says, don't do it because you will have negative consequences. But I am adamant. Therefore, God says, okay, he will sanction. Now you will have to suffer the consequences. So God is sanctioning what I am desiring, provided I have the karmic credit. But God is not impelling anybody. Therefore, God is sanctioner of what human beings want to do if the human beings have the karma or the karmic credit to do what they desire. Now, Hitler, as an example, had the karma to become extremely powerful. But Hitler used the power to kill millions of people instead of using the power to administer a kingdom properly and do good to others. So God is present in everyone's heart. He sees our desires, and if we deserve, so desire and deserve are different. Yes, I have the desire. Plus, provided if I deserve based on my karmic credit, then he allows that desire to be fulfilled. An example to understand this is that I have a desire to earn $1 million, but my karmic credit only allows me $1,000. Well, Krishna will only sanction $1,000. So I am desiring million, but I only deserve 1,000. So Krishna will allow or sanction $1,000. So when we say God knows the future, does not mean that every one of us is programmed being meant to act accordingly like a robot. No. Vedic scripture or Vedic culture is not destiny centered. Vedic culture is duty centered. All of us have a particular duty to do. I am pretty sure many of you will have a burning question about destiny at this point. Let me answer. Destiny is like a weather forecast that none of us can change. Example, if it is going to be snowy, well, it is going to snow. I cannot change. If it is going to be sunny, it is going to be sunny. I cannot change. Therefore, destiny is like a weather forecast that none of us can change. But what we do with it is up to us, using our free will. I can go out in the snow without any protection and I will get frozen. Or I can go out in a snow with proper protection and I will avoid damage. So I have to use my free will properly. So destiny determines what happens to us, meaning the circumstances that present in front of us. But destiny does not determine how we respond in those circumstances. Destiny does not determine our actions. So situations we encounter in our life are determined by our destiny, which are unchangeable. Actions we choose in those situations are up to us. Actions are changeable using our free will. I'm pretty sure all of you will have a burning question about free will. Let me explain free will. What exactly is free will? Free will means all living beings have unlimited freedom within a limited framework. Explain this with an example. Say a horse is tied to a rope. Within the radius of the rope, the horse has unlimited freedom to move in whichever direction the horse likes to move. So the horse has unlimited freedom within a limited framework of the radius of the rope. The horse cannot go beyond the radius of the rope. Now the shorter length rope of a wild horse and a longer length rope of a gentle horse is based on past karma, meaning the length of the framework within which we have unlimited freedom depends on our past karma. So when Krishna says he knows the future, means he knows the various options, he knows the consequences of all those options, meaning all the consequences of all the options. And Krishna also knows our inclination. So Krishna can see the whole map. In that sense, he knows everything. And when we come to a crossroad, a fork, it is up to us to choose using our free will. So God's knowledge of future is like our knowledge of the past. Our knowledge of past is knowledge without intervention. God can change future, but God chooses not to intervene with the system he has created. I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations for the heavy topic that I have just discussed. Everybody should try to ask. So there's a question posted in the chat. It says, does Krishna know what our next move is? So based on the inclination, Krishna knows what our default action will be. But Krishna does not influence our free will. Yes, by default, we have a particular inclination, but it is not mandatory for us to act according to that default inclination. We can still change using our free will. Based on scriptures, we can still choose a particular action that is favorable for bhakti, that is favorable for Krishna, even when whatever be my default mode. I have given this example before, that if you buy a new phone, comes with a default setting. The default ringtone. It will ring, but it does not have to ring that default ring. You can change it to something different that you like. Same applies with our body. Our body has a default setting. We can act according to the default setting, and that will be acting according to karma. Or we can use our free will properly and act differently even when we have a default setting, even when Krishna knows our default setting, but Krishna does not interfere that we should act with our default setting. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Annapurni?
Hare Krishna. My question is related to the Hitler example. So Hitler had the free will to hurt all the people that he did, right? But what was the fate of all the victims who suffered under him? The free will seems to be a combination of several things, several people's free will, and also the climate conditions, right?
Yeah.
So there's not much free will, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. So free will, he used it. It's not that he had it to use it in a particular way. Based on his karmic credit, Hitler was destined to become a leader That was destined. Hitler goes on to misuse his free will to go on and kill. And of course, this is also the karmic credit of those who got killed. They also had the karma, the wrong karma, that somehow they will be killed in this manner. So it then became karmic action and reaction for all those people who got killed. And Hitler also got karmic reaction, negative karmic reaction, which we don't know, but obviously he should have got negative karmic reaction for killing innocent people. Annapurni?
Prabhuji.
Pratyush Prabhu?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, my question was similar to the one just asked, but however, if I have to add on to it, in the context of Hitler killing 6 million Jews, is this system really effective if giving someone free will can lead to the death of 6 million innocents? Is that system really effective?
So it's almost an identical question asked in other path. The devotee is present among us here also. The devotee asked, free will is my problem. Yes, free will is our problem. So this is the system Krishna has created. And simultaneously, Krishna has given scriptures and acharyas to explain that the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is for us to use our free will properly. That's the purpose. If we live by default, then we are bound to use it incorrectly. So it's not a question of the system being right or wrong. We are not knowledgeable enough to know whether the system is right or wrong because we are not 100% in knowledge. We have to understand that Krishna is 100% in knowledge and he has designed this system for a particular reason. If you think that material world is a place for my enjoyment, this system will not make sense to you. But when you understand that material world is a prison house for my suffering or my punishment from what I did before, and material world is a hospital for me to get purified so I can go back home to Godhead, that's when material world will make sense to you. So Pratyush Prabhu, you answer this question and rest of you can also answer. That I give you a cell phone and I give you an encyclopedia, which is a very thick book, and I ask you to type the encyclopedia on a cell phone. What will be your reaction?
It's very time consuming, Prabhuji, so
Okay.
I would not want to do it in the first place. But if I had to, then I'll start right away.
Okay, but isn't there something more? Would you not ask for a different device?
Sure, I would ask for a laptop probably. Yes.
Right? So, and my response will be, well, why do you need a laptop? You have the keyboard on a cell phone. Why can't you just use the cell phone as the keyboard? Which you already
Because
answered that it is too cumbersome. It is too time consuming. Why? Because cell phone has a purpose of being a cell phone. Yes, you have the option to type little thing, but laptop is proper to type long documents. Similarly, you understand the material world from the purpose perspective. If you try to understand or justify that material world is a place for my enjoyment, you are going to fail because material world is not a place of enjoyment, it's a place of misery. But when you understand that Krishna has designed the material world as a prison house, therefore the pure devotee in charge of material world is known as Durga Devi. So Durga means prison and Durga means the jailer who is controlling the prison house. So when you understand the purpose that material world is a prison house as well as a hospital for my purification, my getting cured so that I can go back home to Godhead, well, material world is perfectly designed. This is the invocation mantra in Sri Ishopanishad. Om Purnamada verse, that material world is perfect and complete once you understand the purpose. Pratyush Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, I understand.
All right. So there are a series of questions in the chat I will answer. So one question Janisha is asking, is it right to know future through astrology or we should just go with the flow and do karma? So about astrology, there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada has explained that astrology is a correct science. That based on constellation, you can know a little bit about future. But right now, there is no one qualified to speak or explain this astrology science properly. Therefore, when you go to astrologers, one astrologer will tell you one thing, another astrologer will tell you another thing with some overlap. So astrology is correct science, but right now there is no one qualified to explain the future based on astrology. Therefore, there's no point in using astrology. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay, next question in the chat, it says, as per example about desire for 1 million and credit I have it for 1,000 only. So one should desire more or not for material things and spiritual. So desiring for material does not help you at all. You are only going to get based on your karma. Spirituality is the only thing that is not predestined, and you can desire and use your free will properly to desire for spirituality, and then Krishna will help you further. Does that answer the question? All right. Srivatsa Prabhu is saying that it's a nice explanation. Give me more thorough and give me. Okay, you're just confirm. Okay. So Paulam is also stating a point that about Hitler. Okay, I'm looking for questions as I'm going through the chat. So Annapurni says, it would be better if we were programmed feelingless robots. So yes, I already answered that free will, of course, is the problem. So to Annapurni's point and to Pratyush Prabhu's point about free will and to rest of your points about free will, understand this with an example. Can you tell somebody, you love me? Can you ask somebody to love you? Everybody please answer. Annapurni, Pratyush, or whosoever has question about free will, can you ask somebody to love you?
No.
No,
What do you need for
Prabhuji.
love?
I mean, we can ask, but it's their decision if they reciprocate or not.
Correct. It's their decision. So
We
this
have
is...
to,
Yeah, Annapurni, go ahead.
yeah, we have to earn the even the privilege to ask for love. It is earned. It is not asked or demanded.
Right. So this is what Krishna wants us to do, to use our free will in a natural way to love Krishna. So just as you all answered, no, I cannot force anyone to love, that exactly point Krishna is saying, I cannot force you to love me. You have to use your free will. That's why Krishna does not interfere with our free will. Annapurni, does that answer you about your feelingless robots point and rest of you?
Yes, Guruji.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Srivastava Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I had a question about tendencies and how the Supreme Lord knows the limitation that they afford. So when we are born, are these tendencies based on innate spiritual pedigree that we possess? That okay, this soul can only operate within this bandwidth, and the Supreme Lord knows that.
So bandwidth for material or for spiritual?
I know you mentioned that spiritually we can make choices, and we can um, cultivate our bhakti or our love for Krishna and then grow boundlessly. But materially, for
Materially, so I explained with the definition of free will that all souls have infinite freedom within a limited framework. That limited framework, or the bandwidth word that you used, is one and the same. That limited framework, or the example that I gave of the horse tied with a rope, that length of the rope depends on our past karma and depends on our association with the modes. So portion of this discussion will happen in chapter 14 about the modes. I'm only answering in summary form. That length of the rope for the horse, a wild horse, is tied to a very short rope, and his framework, his length of framework is very short, because in past he has been wild. Similarly, another horse has a long rope because he is very gentle. So that bandwidth, or the length of the rope, or that length of the framework, is based on past karma, based on past inclination, based on previous association of the modes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. So not all of us are on the same. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Got it.
And for the spirituality point, you already answered, which we have discussed in 2.40 and 6.40, that our spirituality we don't lose. We continue from wherever we left off. So in my previous life, if I completed 1% spirituality, in my current life, I will continue from 2% point onwards. And in my current life, if I complete to 5%, then in my next life, or whichever life I start spirituality again, I will start from 6th% point onwards. Yes. But it still is my free will that when do I want to start from that 6% point onwards. So in my current life, if I end spirituality or complete spirituality up to 5%, it is not by default that in my next life, I will start from 6% point. I may start the 6% point from 10th life down the line. It is still my free will.
But sometimes Maya also, like the environments are not conducive, born into a wretched family, and you have to sift through a lot of illusion to get to the point where you can continue again. But that's all karma.
You are correct. It's karma.
It's karma.
Based on your individual and group karma. So I've described this in the 4.16, 17, 18, that we all have group karma as well as we have individual karma. So based on the individual and group karma, it determines which material world we are born in, which country, which family, which colleague. Yeah, so karma definitely plays a role, but we have free will to get out of that karmic cycle.
Right. Thank
Does
you,
that
Prabhu.
answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Very good. Bhaktish Prabhu?
Prabhuji, I just had like a realization about the consequences of free will. If we juxtapose Hitler committing suicide at the end after committing such heinous atrocities, and if we compare this to the story of Ashoka, Ashoka was also a brutal ruler, and after the Kalinga War, it was his free will and his choice that he made to give up his old ways and to renounce, violence and start non-violence. I think it's an extreme example to support free will, that if we decide what we want to do, then we will face those consequences.
Yeah, so suicide is not scripture say. I will explain about suicide. I've explained earlier also. So say somebody has a lifespan of 85 years, and at the age of 60, this person commits suicide. Now his next body is not ready for 25 more years. So for 25 years, this person or this person's soul will remain as a ghost. So suicide is not renunciation. Suicide is not the solution, because you are not really doing anything. You are staying as a ghost for the rest of the lifespan that is already predestined till your next body gets ready. Then you, after the 25-year span is over, that's when this ghost will go on to the next body. So for this 25 years, this ghost has desires, but does not have body to fulfill the desires. Therefore, ghosts go on to occupy other person's body so that the ghost can fulfill his own desires. Patish Prabhu?
No, Prabhuji, that wasn't my point. My point was like Hitler died without realizing the atrocities that he had caused. However, Ashok, on the other hand, he realized that he was on the wrong path after the Kalinga War, and then he rectified his mistakes, and then he followed the journey of Dhamma, basically. That's non-violence. So I'm just saying that Ashoka used his free will to understand the mistakes that he had made and then follow his own path. So I'm just saying that it's just an extreme example to support free will.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood earlier. Yeah, you are correct that yes, Ashoka in your example is using his free will properly. All right. Yeah, and Srivastava Prabhu is correct that he still has to face karma that you cannot avoid. So we have discussed karma as well as in 5.22 that it's a yoni. Yoni means a womb of misery. Is such a womb that you cannot even abort, cannot even do abortion. It's bound to manifest at some point of time.
I see, Prabhuji. Okay.
All right. So Annapurni as a point in the chat says, why does Karuna Sindhu, meaning why does Krishna create such a hospital or prison of ever-changing suffering? Prahlad, Pandavas, devotees have to suffer. So Prahlad and Pandavas did not suffer. They were just used as instruments by Krishna to teach to rest of the world. In terms of our suffering, or at least my suffering, this is based on my karma. Krishna has just created a system to satisfy my desires and to exhaust my karma. Krishna has nothing to do with it. It is my envious nature. It is my free will, misuse of my free will is why material world is created. Has nothing to do with Krishna, is my desire. Annapurni?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Why did he give us desires in the first place? Why did he make this mind, which is so monkey-like, it's the fastest moving thing. I mean, it's such a complex creation. It just baffles me.
Yeah, so you have the right understanding. And if you remember the mind control lecture, the last sentence of the mind control lecture says you can change when you realize. So Annapurni is realizing that my mind is a problem. Many of you realize my free will is the problem. When you have this realization, that's when you will change. Go and ask anybody in the material world. They will say, oh no, my mind is my beautiful mind. I can desire so and so. I can go to space, blah, blah, blah. Run at the speed of sound. No, it is when you get these realizations that's when you will change. So take it as prasad that you get this realization. Be thankful and take the next step of changing. Take the next step to make this life as your last life, so that you don't come back to this miserable world again. Just endeavor, get initiated, get endeavor in devotional service under a bona fide spiritual master, so that you can go back home back to Godhead. Annapurni?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Rest of you, questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you answered about desire that if you have only credit for 1,000, then you will get it back. So no one should desire more about anything. Like, how can we practice? For example, spiritual, we are practicing for bhakti. So is there anything for not to desire and use the right free will? Is there any practice for that?
I will let you know when I will know. So the proper approach is that we should not desire at all. Srimad Bhagavatam, it should be 3.28.7 or could be 3.29.8. I could be jumbling the verses. Lord Kapila, who is Krishna himself, he says that devotee should just live and be satisfied with what comes by its own self without extraneous endeavor. So we have to live a simple life for that. So we cannot say, I want a new cell phone every 2 months, and also say that I will live by what comes by its own nature. No, that's not simple living. Right? So you have to reconcile with both your hands. That one hand is saying one thing, the other hand is saying other thing. So if you actually have the desire to live based on what you get by itself, then you will not desire to get a new cell phone every 2 months. I'm just using this as an example. Not that you are doing it. I'm just saying new desires. Malti?
Yes, Prabhu. It's the same thing for free will also. But we don't know how to use free will, so how can we use it?
Yeah, so we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 14, at least Malti has heard it. Some of you have also heard that, and many of you also asked about this free will today, that free will seems to be the problem. And the discussion we'll have in chapter 14 about the modes, that modes are also overpowering us so much, then what exactly do I do with my free will? I don't really have my free will as free. So what do I do? And this discussion is there in chapter 14, that when you do bhakti, by bhakti, your free will becomes strong to push back on your default inclinations, to push back on what the modes are presenting in front of you. So by bhakti, your free will becomes so strong that my default setting in my body is to just enjoy. But by bhakti, I understand I don't need to enjoy because it is entangling. This is the strength happens to my free will, that my free will becomes strong to push back on that enjoying mentality. And then I use my free will properly for spirituality. Exactly what Malti was saying, that how do I do this? You do this by bhakti, you make your free will strong. It still is a work in progress for me. Therefore, I said to Malti's question that I will let you know when I will know. But at least try. with bhakti, you will know that material world is not a place of enjoyment. It's a place of misery. Does that answer?
Yes, Prabhuji. Until we realize we will live in a Mishra Bhakti or in a
Correct.
Mishra
Yeah,
center.
yeah, you are correct. And Mishra Bhakti is not a bad place to be. You just have to continue growing from the component of bhakti increasing more and more and more in the Mishra Bhakti level. And just as Annapurni and few others realized about that I don't need my free will, take away my free will. So you cannot give up your free will, rather you purify yourself and use your free will properly, just as many of you answered. You cannot ask anyone to love you. And that's exactly what Krishna is saying. I cannot ask you to love me. You just have to learn use the free will properly from the scriptures and come to naturally loving Krishna. Does that answer help further?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Rest of you have been silent. Janisha?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. If somebody has already committed some bad karma in the past, so in the future, how that person can end this karma cycle?
Yeah, very good. So there are devotees present here from Toronto Temple where we have discussed this, that there are only two ways to end your karma. Past, present, and future, there are only two ways. If any Babaji, say from India, Nepal, or any place, or any such pseudo-spiritualist tells you that he will end your karma by you doing so and so austerity, run very far away from him. Because it is not possible to end your karma. The only two ways to end your karma is by doing devotional services and by surrendering to Krishna. So Krishna says he has said this in 18.66 as well as he has said in 7.14 that as one surrenders, so he reciprocates. So as you surrender, Krishna will take away all your good and bad karma. Or if you do devotional services, you will get a small cut. So I explained about destiny, that things are destined. You cannot change the event. What you can do is by doing devotional service, Srimati Radharani and Krishna take care of some big negative incident by you simply having a cut on your finger. You put a band-aid and you go on. These are the only two ways to end your karma. There are devotees present here, even virtually right now, who have had a tiny cut while they were doing services in the temple kitchen. What that meant was that their past karma, there was some negative big event was destined, but it got written off by a simple cut. So destiny cannot be changed. We discussed today. Destiny is like a weather forecast. You cannot change. So the incident has to happen, but the effect of that negative happen is minimized to just a simple cut that you put a band-aid on by doing devotional service. Janisha?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have one more question.
Mhm.
Some person who kills or some person who gets raped or get murdered after that, that's one of the worst thing one can do. So is this kind of incidents are also destined, or how does this thing affect the karma, or is
It
this
is,
destiny, or what is it?
it is karmic reaction. Yes, it is destined according to karmic reaction. Janisha?
Okay, so after some person, if the rapist comes and do the devotional services or surrenders to the Krishna, then his all wrongdoings get cancelled. So isn't it unfair, or what do you think about this, Prabhuji?
Yeah. So you understand that, understand what I explained to Pratyush Prabhu's question. Understand that material world is place to manifest your karma, means a place for your punishment and a place for your reformation. Understand material world from this angle, and then material world will make sense. That somebody got whatever punishment, the degree varies according to everybody's past karma, and the way everybody is punished is also different. So I have also done a lot of bad karma. I also have a lot of punishment. Now, I now have started doing devotional service, and very recently I got a cut on my finger. I got a very bad cut. And I had to actually go to the hospital to put some stitches. They were a little more than a Band-Aid that could handle. Now, your example of rapist or terrorist are extreme examples, but take my example. Well, I have done something wrong and I should be punished. The degree is different. So if you understand the material world from the point that material world is designed for my punishment and my reformation, then material world makes sense. So the cut that I got on my finger for some major destined past bad karma, which I don't even know, well, you will say, well, why did he only had to put a Band-Aid on and move on with his bad karma? Well, that's the system Krishna has designed, that if you do devotional service, Krishna will wash away your past, present, and future karma. These are the only ways. So somebody did wrong, you used an extreme example of a rapist or a terrorist. Well, he got reformed. Therefore, his past karma got written off. So it's not a question of fair. You understand that the purpose of material world got fulfilled, that the terrorist got reformed. That's why Krishna removes his past bad karma. Janisha?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a follow-up question. Prabhuji, what if these extremist people do not reform at all in their life?
So they will continue demoniac life after life after life, which Krishna explains in chapter 16 Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna will say that you will be almost eternally be in the cycle of birth and death in material world, in lower species of life, and in lower planets. But Krishna says, don't do it. But so before sanctioning, even for a terrorist, before sanctioning, Krishna says, don't do it. But I am adamant. No, I want to do this. Well, then Krishna says, well, okay, then you will have to suffer the consequences. I cannot interfere with your free will. Diksha?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So about this question about free will, here's my devilish question. I actually have asked a lot of devilish approaches. That when before the Kurukshetra war, Krishna went as Shantidut, and Krishna failed to convince Duryodhan. So here's a question for all of you. Did Krishna fail when Krishna was not able to convince Duryodhan to not fight before the war? Everybody, please answer. Srivatsa Prabhu says no, Annapuni says no. But he was not able to convince. So how can you say no? So how I have a challenge with your answer. How did Krishna not fail if Krishna did not convince Duryodhan? How do you reconcile these statements? Srivatsa Prabhu?
It's the point that you just made, Prabhu, that it's showing of Duryodhan's unwavering demoniac nature, that even when dharma is presented to him in the form of the Supreme Lord, he rejects it.
Yeah, very good. Janisha?
I think that was convincing. Duryodhan may not be the major goal. It was the major goal of the Krishna was to make him understand, as he was quite stubborn. So that war could be the good process to make him understand.
Yeah. So does that answer your previous question about rapist and terrorist?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right. So the purpose of that incident of Krishna not able to convince Duryodhan is to explain to us that Krishna does not interfere with the free will. Krishna did not interfere with the free will of Duryodhan. He said, okay, if that's your choice, that's your choice. Even though Krishna knew, Krishna actually says, if you actually see the Mahabharata TV serial, Krishna says, I know you are not going to get convinced, but I'm not going to interfere because that's your free will. And we'll soon discuss in chapter 11 about the universal form, that Krishna actually displayed his universal form there. Krishna said, look, I am Supreme Personality of Godhead. What are you thinking? Still, Krishna did not interfere with Duryodhan's free will. That's the point that Krishna wants to explain from that incident. Everybody? Janisha and everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Everybody on the same page? Was that a heavy conversation? You are all too exhausted from the conversation? All right. Okay, everybody have undivided attention. Mandatory homework. Thank you, Srivasa Prabhu. Mandatory homework number 1. And somebody will repeat and ask follow-up questions if you don't understand. All 17 chapters of Bhagavad Gita except chapter 8 explain one thing, and chapter 8 explains another thing which is exact opposite. So the question is, what are these two things? And I will also tell you how to get this answer. So I want you to open your Bhagavad Gita, and on the contents page, you have a brief summary of the first, just before at the start, you have brief summary of the 18 chapters. Or you can use your notes. You at least have notes for the first 7 chapters. So you find a connecting link to the remainder of the chapters also from the contents page. So many just look at the first 6 chapters and state the answer, well, generally that you control and blah, 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 or detach or blah, blah, blah. But that's not what is explained in rest of the chapter. So you need to find a connecting link to rest of the chapters. Now, here's my fun part. Some of you already be having the answer ready to this question. The answer being I don't know the answer and I will not know the answer. Anybody in that situation? Srivatsa Prabhu. I got silence. So this point that I don't know the answer is also an important reason for this question, because we have studied from the start that if I don't know, then what do I need to do? We have studied. So this is a practice for you all. So I want somebody to please repeat this homework question number 1, then I'll explain number 2. Somebody?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, should I?
Sumnima, go ahead a little louder.
All the 17 chapters of Bhagavad Gita except 8 explains one thing and other chapter explains another.
No,
So
not other. Chapter 8 explains other.
8
Yeah.
explains another
Repeat.
thing.
Start over from again.
All 17 chapters of Bhagavad Gita except chapter 8 explains one thing and chapter 8 explains another thing. So we just have to find out what are these 2 things.
And chapter 8 item is exact opposite to what is explained in rest of the 17 chapters. Okay, and what else did I say for this question?
Prabhuji, is it also finding the connecting links between them?
Yeah, you have to find the connecting link. Yeah. So you can't just look at first 6 chapters and say, oh, here's my answer. No, whatever you see, you have to find the connecting link in remainder of the chapters. And therefore I say from your Bhagavad Gita contents page, you at least have a summary of rest of the chapters for which we have not yet covered. And follow me, you are not the first one to say that this is a very difficult question. And therefore I say that many of you already know the answer, that I don't know the answer and I will not know the answer. Therefore, this point that I don't know the answer is also a very important point and a very important reason to give this question, to practice what we have learned, that what do I do when I don't know, what do I have to do? Follow me and everybody. You all like my seemingly innocuous open-ended question? Okay, next question. So I have on screen a chart that you will populate from Bhagavad Gita 8.17. So you read 8.17 verse and purport and you populate these boxes. So they are, if you read the purport, they are literally laid out in sequence. You have these boxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You populate these 11 boxes as well as from 8.17 purports, what is or what are the significant point or points from 8.17. Everybody understands the second question? Take a snapshot of what you have on screen. Now send all your answers to me by end of day Wednesday. I am not going to set up a Google form because this you probably will scan and send it to me, or you can just write box number 1, answer this, box 2, answer this. And the question number 1, many of you will probably be, I don't know the answer and I don't know how to know the answer. Well, that's an important point you will have to address. So Janisha says she has not yet completed all the previous chapters. And therefore I said, look at the contents page and it should give you some understanding. So Janisha, it's not that you are brand new. Sachin Prabhu is here for the first time. Janisha, you have at least some understanding. You have been coming to classes, so you should know a little bit. But again, if you don't know, we have already discussed what we need to do is also we have discussed.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Everybody crystal clear on the second homework question also?
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
What,
Prabhuji.
so we have to fill in something on box 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, and 10, 11.
All 1 to 11, all boxes. Not
So
just
verse,
7, 8,
that's a
7.
verse number.
Say
7,
that
8.
again.
It's a 7, 8. Box 7, 8 is a verse. What verse is it? Or
It's not verse. From one verse, which is 8.17, you will get answers to all the 11 gray boxes on the chart. There's one verse, 8.17. Matan Prabhu?
okay, thank you.
Everybody clear on the homework? Again, mandatory, very important eye-opener questions. If you don't attempt, you will not get the full benefit. So there are still few not endeavoring, it's just very few. You should endeavor or have a chat with me offline. And some of you who have not had a chat with me offline for the previous missed classes, you should still have a chat with me. I'm not here to chastise you, I'm just here to help you. All right, we are just past 11:45 here in Toronto time. Thank you for tolerating a little longer class. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.